Hello again. I know a lot of people in the comments have been eagerly awaiting this video, so here it is. A comprehensive list of poise values pertaining to all forms of casting in Elden Ring. I've separated this video by two categories: Incantations and Sorceries. Before we continue, you might be asking why the poise values are so low. Well, as of patch 1.10, all hyper armor attacks and spells have a hidden modifier that reduces all incoming poise damage by 50%. For technical accuracy, the poise values you see listed here are all correct. If you want an easier time calculating poise health versus poise damage, you can multiply all values listed here by 2 in order to get a better idea of what you can or can't tank. For ease of use, I'll just display a version in which all the values are doubled so the viewer doesn't have to do an extra step when calculating, be it estimates or exact amounts. Remember that the values listed here, unlike my pre-patch 1.10 tier lists, factor in the 50% incoming poise damage reduction, which in turn essentially doubles the amount of poise you get during any hyper armor attack. While we have 2 tier lists to cover, there really isn't that much substance to them, so this video will be much shorter than you might expect. Let's jump right into it. First off, in our Sorceries section, we have Briars of Sin. This spell gets a whopping 500 poise. While the spell itself is a little questionable in terms of viability, having slow cast speed for a melee spell and requiring a staggering 24 faith to be able to use, the large amount of poise you get during the active hyper armor frames of this spell is the only redeeming factor of this middling sorcery. 500 poise is almost enough to tank a Colossal Sword light attack, which requires 599 poise. Slap the Bullgoat Talisman on and you'll be able to tank through it. The bleed buildup is nice, but you have to actually land a hit with it first. Next up on our list, we have Shatter Earth, Rock Blaster, and Gavel of Haima. These 3 spells grant the user 400 poise during active hyper armor frames. These spells can tank through a 2-handed heavy attack from greatswords, which deals 363 poise damage. Majority of the spells in Elden Ring have no poise bonuses, mainly because they're mostly ranged attacks or buffs. I think some of the slow casting melee spells should have a little bit of hyper armor. Carrion Greatsword and Carrion Piercer. Please. Moving on to Incantations. Incantations have a lot more close-ranged options than Sorceries. The ones that aren't blindingly fast and borderline unreactable have appropriate hyper armor and poise bonuses attached to them. Starting off the list, we have Dragon Maw. This draconic incantation will grant the user super armor during the animation. Dragon Maw gets its super armor bonus deceptively early into its animation. Not frame 1 like Lion's Claw, but it's pretty close. You cannot be poise broken during this incantation. In our next tier, Millennia's Ratussi, Crucible Aspects, Horn and Tail, and Dragon Claw. Getting this much poise on an incantation is amazing. 900 poise is enough to tank through a 2-handed heavy attack from a colossal weapon such as or Staff of the Avatar, which does 795 poise damage. Next up, we have Fortisax's Lightning Spear. This incantation will give you a poise bonus of 600 during active hyper armor frames. This is enough to tank a 2-handed Colossal Sword running heavy attack, which does 599 poise. Most people, myself included, use this running attack to deal with airborne opponents, and 99% of the time it's the best option to go for when calling out an aerial attack. Successfully knocking someone out of the sky with a Colossal Sword is a great way to set up a wake-up backstab. This is a very special case in which you, as a Colossal Sword user, don't want to counter this incantation with a running heavy attack. Don't tell anyone I told you that, though. Go out and teach him the hard way, my lightning-flinging amigos. In our next tier, we have Black Blade. Granting the user 500 poise during active hyper armor frames, Black Blade stands out from the other incantations as it's a projectile attack. While slow to start up, the poise granted to this incantation is almost enough to tank through a two-handed Colossal Sword light attack. Same as Briars of Sin, slap that Bullgoat talisman on and you'll be meeting some very important poise thresholds. In our last meaningful tier, we have Ancient Dragon Lightning Spear, Lanisex's Glaive, and Frozen Lightning Spear. These incantations will grant the user 400 poise during active hyper armor frames. These attacks have quite a bit of startup. While activating comparatively slow due to their area of effect nature, they're granted a plentiful amount of poise to withstand some of the more medium-sized weapons such as greatswords or halberds even when two-handing. At most, with the help of the Bullgoat talisman, you can tank majority of the one-handed moveset of a Colossal Sword. Attacks that aren't a jumping heavy, charged heavy, or a guard counter will do 461 poise, just short of being able to interrupt these incantations. Well, that's the end of the list. Hope you'll find some use out of this video, and with that, I bid you good day. Later.